It is Anfield Agenda time. Craig is set for the day and the news. Sit back and relax, grab a coffee and chill, and enjoy the shenanigans tonight. Anfield Agenda. Anfield Agenda. YNWA. Anfield Agenda. Time for Craig to tell it straight. Watch alongs to fill your day. Make to subscribe and stay. Up the Reds, up the Reds. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh. Anfield Agenda. Anfield Agenda. YNWA. Anfield Agenda. Time for Craig to tell it straight. Watch alongs to fill your day. Make to subscribe and stay. Up the Reds, up the Reds. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh, oh, ooh. Anfield Agenda. Anfield Agenda. YNWA. Anfield Agenda.
What is up, my friends? We are live. It is Saturday night's late night agenda, and as always, I hope you're in good spirits. I mean, why wouldn't you be? We are just 3 wins, 9 points away from league title number 20. Arsenal and Brentford drew earlier on today, which means we're 1 step closer. So, my friends, we want to know, how are you feeling? How excited are you about the game tomorrow? And of course, the fact that just 3 wins required from 7 now. I told you that Arsenal weren't going to stay perfect. I've told you they haven't gone a month perfect in the season. And today, well, it was no different. So, I hope anybody who maybe has a few nerves is feeling a little bit more optimistic. I wasn't expecting that draw, to be honest with you. I thought Arsenal were going to win it, but fair play to Brentford. They are a handful, and they've certainly helped their cause a little bit there today. So, we're going to go through that, ask you how you're all feeling about it. We're going to talk about the centre-back situation at the club, and these continued links to Xavi Simons from RB Leipzig. That and lots more to come over the next hour and a half. Right, Sonny, let me get the super chats turned on actually at my end, bro, and then I will get your comment up on screen. 1 second, Sonny. Hopefully it comes through for me. I only turned on my back end system here after. There it is. Thankfully, I was worried I wasn't going to get to bring it up on screen, Sonny, but here we go. Life has been an amazing feeling since the Egyptian king was officially announced. Can't wait for Big Virgil to be officially announced as well. And thank you, Sonny, for such a great uplifting super chat to kick off the night. It's great, isn't it? I mean, the guy on Sky Sports made a mistake at one point, said that Liverpool only need to win 2 more games, but it is 3 more games. And hopefully we can get working on that tomorrow against West Ham, because, well, that should be a game that we're looking to get the win. And then we've Leicester City away. So we could be only a matter of weeks away. I mean, in theory, it is possible that we win the league title. I think against Spurs, it's possible. If not against Spurs, then it could be one against Chelsea. But I'd like to win it at Spurs, so Chelsea have to give us the guard of honour. And of course, maybe Arsenal as well. So, yeah, look, I hope that eases any concerns that some people may have. Obviously, last weekend wasn't a great result for us. There's no getting away from that one. But what a great few days it's been. Arsenal dropped more points, but most importantly, the contract situation's getting resolved. Right, let's get through. When is the Verge announcement? Honestly, Alex, I'd be a liar if I told you I knew, mate. I haven't got a clue. You know, we know it's going to be soon. We know that it's just a matter of the signature to be put in the contract. Everybody, no matter what publication or what journalist you're reading about, they're all saying the same. It's a done deal. It's just a matter of crossing the T's and dotting the I's. Hamza, how are you, bro? Welcome in. Till Sheen, lovely to see you in as well. Lakers, nice to see you, my man. Sonny Hughes, always a pleasure. Scott Engerson, Mark, Dave, and everybody else that's in the chat. Appreciate you all being here. So look, there's nothing but good news around the club at the minute, but the uncertainty around centre-back is kind of where I wanted to anchor tonight's stream with, because I've read a lot over the last day or two that we could see big changes in Liverpool's defence. And look, we know we're looking in the full-back positions. We know left-back, right-back will be positions we need to sort out. But there's a fair few pieces tonight saying that Liverpool may lose a couple of centre-backs in this window. The one that I think is certainly 50-50 is Jarell Quansah. Look, the Ibrahim Konate situation will most likely come down to whether the club can agree a wage with Ibu that works for both sides. If not, we'll have to sell him. But it's Konate and Quansah that are the ones that I'm seeing the most talk about, and hence the thumbnail for tonight, because we're linked with Jarell Haddo. We're linked with Dean HUIJSEN. Very strongly, I should say, with Dean HUIJSEN. So what do you guys think is going to happen on this one? Are you expecting wholesale changes at centre-back? I think we might see it, you know. Gomez is possible, Muckrab, but, you know, he's not playing at the minute. So he's not really in the shop window. So there hasn't been too much talk. Gomez is definitely possible, 100%. James Bond said, feels good to talk to you again, Craig. Thank you. And look, I do appreciate, like I mentioned last night, all of your understanding over the couple of weeks that we did have member-only chat on. I just want to reiterate, though, tomorrow it will be member-only chat on match days, but that's the only time we're going to put it on member-only chat. So other than that, thank you for your understanding and great to see you all back in. With Quansah being homegrown, would we still be okay in those rules if we sold him? Yes, we would. Because I would imagine, well, I guess it might depend on who we bring in, as an example. But we do have some spaces in that department. And look, we're going to be losing a homegrown player as well with Trent, which will be a pain in the nuts. If we sell Elliott, well, that could be another one. So we do have to keep an eye on these type of situations, yes. But for me, I can see a world where we lose two and bring in Quansah, or excuse me, bring in Haddo and HUIJSEN. That's where my head's at. Craig, if you could get either Gyökeres, Alvarez or Isak, who would it be? I would personally go for Alvarez. I just think Julian Alvarez is just so good. I just think he's so versatile, he would fit in. If you could guarantee me they'd all stay fit, then I'd go for Isak. Isak is the goal scorer, the natural goal scorer there. But I've always been a fan of Alvarez, although I don't think either are going to happen, in all honesty. Hugo Ekitike seems to be the favourite name at this moment in time. I see a friend of ours, Dave, as a party from Talking Wolves, was having a bit of back and forth with Matthias Cunha. You may have seen that earlier on. Dave runs the Talking Wolves podcast and YouTube channel, and basically himself and Cunha were kind of exchanging words in a polite kind of way, but it was an interesting situation to sit back and watch. Semenyo was homegrown, said James. Yeah, but we can't go to Bournemouth. Do you know what, lads? We'll have HUIJSEN, we'll have Kirkes, we'll have Semenyo. I mean, they're not going to want to be ripped apart. Now, they kind of don't really have too much of a say in HUIJSEN because of the £50 million release clause in his contract. Kirkes, they've already brought in that replacement longer term for him in Julio Soler, the young lad from Lanús in Argentina. So I can't see them losing many more after that, to be honest. They're going to want to build, and they're still kind of in some way, shape or form battling for a European place, which nobody seems to want. Seen Brighton today dropping points as well in a 2-2 draw. Nottingham Forest beaten by Everton. So, you know, I guess the question is now, are Forest going to have an end of season wobble? Because it's getting close. Themselves, Manchester City, Newcastle, Villa even, you know, Chelsea certainly in that mix as well. It's getting close at that part of the league table. David Massett, how are you, my friend? I think it's time to sell HUIJSEN. I don't have any argument with that one, David. But it is weird because I haven't seen much written about the sale of Costas, which surprises me. I'm going to read you out something today, ladies and gentlemen. You know the way I'm always very mindful of the professionalism of our friends from the Echo and other journalists. You know, they set the standards that the rest of us try to follow to, you know, but we're all idiots, so obviously we can't meet these high journalistic standards. But I want to just read you something from the good folks at the Echo, and Ian Doyle in particular, because I want to see if you can spot something in this that I spotted. Let me know what you think. So, this was written about the centre-back situation, and in particular about Ibrahima Konate. Let me see if you can spot something here. The main concern, though, writes Ian Doyle, revolves around Ibrahima Konate, who is approaching his prime and is a target for both Paris Saint-Germain and, if certain reports are to be believed, Real Madrid. Now, so far, no problem with anything that Ian's written there. The latter would most certainly prefer to sign the player on a free in the summer of 2027 when he will be 28. Do you spot a problem with that? Firstly, Konate's contract is up in 2026 when he will be 27. So, you know, not for me to critique the work of a professional, fine journalist, the likes of Ian Doyle, but I do feel it is on me to make sure that the fans aren't misled. And Ibrahima Konate's contract is up next summer in 2026 when he will be 27. But, you know, again, I'm just trying to do my little part to make sure that Liverpool fans aren't misled. So there you go. You know, it's always good to spot these things because I know how important it is to these lads to make sure that nothing is misinterpreted, misquoted, or taken out of context. You know, they're very touchy about that. Right. Now that Virgil has been just about sorted, and as a result of continued links to HUIJSEN, these journalists have to initiate new rumours, all viewing for the first break news regardless if it's true. I can't say what's going to happen with Konate's contract, because hand on heart, I don't know. But what I can say is, there is a lot of conversation around the uncertainty about Quansah's future. And I can understand that. It's not for me to decide whether Jarell Quansah is good enough to be at Liverpool for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years. That's a decision for Arne Slot, Richard Hughes, Michael Edwards and the recruitment team. But it's certainly up in the air. And that's the kind of fairest I think I can be about that. Konate ain't worth 200 grand a week. FSG are cheap and compared to VVD doesn't deserve to be close to his wage wise. But look around the world, centre-backs in 200k a week or more, Konate is better than 95%. Do you know what? I've been paying attention to what a lot of Liverpool fans are writing and saying about the Konate contract situation. And I think a lot of us want Konate to stay. I don't think there's too much of an argument about that. You know, I certainly like Ibu a lot myself as a Liverpool fan. But I also don't think he's worth 200 grand a week. I don't. I have to say that. I don't think he's earned 200 grand a week. Virgil van Dijk is about to sign a deal that will make him, according to reports, the highest paid centre-back in world football. Or at least in European football. I have no idea where to put Konate's level at. But it's nowhere near Virgil van Dijk's level for me. So if Ibrahima Konate and his agent were really hard and fast about the 200 grand a week, I'm a selling. Genuinely, I'm selling if I'm in Liverpool shoes. I would be happy, 140, 150 for Ibu. But this 200 grand a week stuff, I think is nonsense, in all honesty. I think he's not worth it. Nevlin said, Craig, did Arsenal shit the bed again? Well, they did draw 1-1, which means, you know, our route to the Premier League titles got a little bit easier. We only need 3 wins, 9 points from the next 7 games. So, you know, we can take a very, very big leap forward over the next 2 weeks, Nevlin. If we can beat West Ham tomorrow, back that up with beating Leicester City next weekend, then we're nearly there. And then we've got that Spurs game where that could be the one. that could be the one. If results keep going and we keep winning, that Spurs game could be the one that Liverpool are crowned Premier League champions. When is City going to be sanctioned? Well, Nick, it looks like that news is being delayed until the summer. We were talking about it, I think it was the Telegraph wrote a piece on this, saying that everybody was expecting it around about this time, which is correct. But it looks like the complexities of the case and the hearing mean that it looks like the summertime. At least that's what the Telegraph were writing in their piece 2 days ago, I think it was. Liverpool could be crowned Premier League champions as early as next Sunday. If Arsenal slip up, then yes, potentially. But look, I told you that Arsenal weren't going to go perfect, and they just haven't managed it. They haven't managed it all season. I think now, if I'm not mistaken, Arsenal have 12 draws in this Premier League campaign, and they don't deserve to be talked about as title contenders here. Liverpool have danced their way to this Premier League title campaign, or Premier League title position, I should say, excuse me. Right, I have a couple of super chats I need to catch up on. Right, let me get to this one first. JFT97 Toronto. Firstly, mate, much love to you over in Toronto. I hope life's treating you well. How are you, Craig? I think we have to be brutally honest and say Quansah is not up to the standard of Premier League champions, or even as a backup for Premier League champions. Need to invest in centre-backs like big boys now. I agree, or at least I'm very unsure of Quansah's standard. I have a very simplistic view of football squads, and particularly our football squad. I ask myself all the time, is there a realistic way for Liverpool to improve position X, position Y? And that is one where I think yes. And it would make it all the easier because there's been loads of interest in Quansah. You know, Newcastle's interest, I believe, is still there, and there are other clubs who are being mentioned as interested in him. Now, it would be a daunting situation if Konate was sold and we moved Quansah on, because we still don't know what Joe Gomez wants to do and where his head's at. But I'll also reply to you with this one, my friend. If Liverpool had to sell Konate because they couldn't agree a deal and moved Quansah on, then I would be over the moon with HUIJSEN and Hato coming in as those options, especially if we can keep Joe Gomez around. Because a fit Joe Gomez as an option is a very versatile option for the Reds. So for me, mate, I think, do you know what, I'm going to ask the chat on Quansah, because it's, you know, I don't want to be unfair about these things. I always want to give people a chance to have their say. So, right. Do you think Quansah is good enough to keep long term? Right, simple question. Do you think Quansah is good enough to keep long term? Yay or nay? And we'll see what most people have to say. Right, a couple more super chats I need to get back to. Stevie boy, always lovely to see you, my friend. Hope you're having a nice weekend so far. Appreciate your support as always, sir. Sell Quansah, Chiesa, a slot doesn't really trust them. Can't go into next season with them just taking space on the bench. I agree. And look, I wouldn't sell Chiesa. I would dare to say a lot of the chat wouldn't sell Chiesa. I wouldn't be looking to sell Elliott either. But again, I totally agree. There's no point in having any players if the manager doesn't rate them. Because the manager's going to be here for the next 3, 4, 5 years. And we need to build a squad that he feels he can trust, you know. And it won't always be a decision that you, Stevie boy, or me, or others will agree with. But I think, you know, if we want to trust the process, well, it has to be the manager's process. And I'm open to that. Even if it frustrates me around certain players like Elliott. Happy to be part of this amazing community, said Guillermo. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your support. Always some kind messages as well, Guillermo. Thank you, bro. Hope you're having a lovely weekend. Plus, what's this Muckrab said? He's proved himself as a decent backup right back. Who was that, Muckrab? Which player are we talking about there? Sorry, I'm just trying to get through your comments to find if I missed the initial one. If we're talking about Quansah as a backup right back, Well, I don't think he's proven himself to Arne Slot because he didn't utilise him in that position in either of the last 2 games. I actually agree with you, mate, if you are talking about Quansah, because I thought when he came on and played at right back, he did nothing wrong. You know, he even got into some decent attacking, goal-scoring positions. So I get where you're coming from on that one, and I was really surprised not to see him at least given the nod against Fulham at right back. I can kind of understand why Arne Slot went with Curtis Jones in the Merseyside derby, you know, for the Scouse heartbeat in the team effect and because of Curtis's energy. Josh said Quansah going on loan in the Prem makes sense. Does it though? Like, I'm unsure, mate, because that means we have to make a decision about whether we buy another centre back and have one on loan. And usually if you're loaning a player in a position out, you don't really want to go into the market to buy a replacement, because then you're admitting that the player you sent out on loan kind of isn't going to be it. So it's a tough one. And if it was a position we were much more well stocked in or had better options in and he was a youngster coming through, maybe. But I don't think now it's time to be loaning out somebody like Quansah, personally. But again, just my opinion, my friend. David said, if we get a good offer for Quansah, sell him. Well, I think it would have to be upwards of 35-40 million, personally, for Liverpool to look to sell. Newcastle in the last valuation had him valued at about 30 and Liverpool apparently were at about 60. So, look, I'm only bringing these things up because the subjects that I'm seeing mentioned in many articles and many fan forums and conversations. Sunil, lovely to see you again, my man. Said, just imagine VVD with a world-class centre-back partner. So many great partnerships in the past. Terry, Carvalho, Rio, Vidic, etc. Do you think VVD's legacy would be even better with a better centre-back alongside him? So, I get where you're coming from. And probably yes. But he has still had good quality centre-backs alongside him. Matip, I would always say, is a top quality centre-back when he was playing for Liverpool. Joe Gomez, when fit, I would put in the top quality centre-back cast as well. Konate, you know, I'm 80% convinced on Ibu, but he does have some errors in him. But what I can never see with Ibu is him becoming the leader of the defence, if that makes sense. A lot of the thinking of the stuff I'm reading suggests that HUIJSEN could come in and be the left-sided Virgil van Dijk replacement longer term, but can still play right alongside Virgil van Dijk in the shorter term. And then, of course, if you throw Haddo into the situation, well, then you've got left side cover for both left positions. But it's a really interesting one you've raised there, Sunil, around whether Van Dijk's legacy would be a little bit different maybe if he had a Sami Hyypiä alongside him. Oh my God, can you imagine that as a centre-back pairing, by the way? Sami Hyypiä and Virgil. That would just be epic. Liverpool could be crowned Premier League champions as early as next Sunday. Beat West Ham, hope Arsenal slip up against Ipswich, then beat Leicester. I don't think... Well, maybe. I can't see them losing to Ipswich, though, in fairness. But for me now, that today was the absolute final nail in Arsenal's title challenge coffin. Mo Salah 11 said, don't sell Quansah. Believe he'll be good at long term. Quansah gets called up for the England squad. You need to have something about you to get a call up. Again, mate, fair point. You know, I can't argue with logic like that. It is solid logic. But, again, it's not about what me and you think, right? At the moment, it's about what Arne thinks. And I haven't had the inclination this season that Arne's fully trusting him. You know, if you go back right as far back as the very first game of the season against Ipswich, when he made that change between Quansah and Konate. Then as the season went on, Konate took over the position and Quansah looked really wobbly. But I do want to say this in Quansah's defence. I think in the last couple of months, he's looked better. He's looked more like the player that was playing last season, that was full of confidence. So, again, I don't think there's a definitive yes or no. Everybody's 100% right or wrong on this. I think it's a subjective decision, and that's what makes it an interesting one. Are we interested in Hato? Yes, we are, Ash. But we're not alone. Real Madrid are interested in him. Real Madrid are also interested in Jonathan Tah. It just looks as if Real Madrid don't want to pay £50 million for HUIJSEN. And that should be to our advantage. Because, you know, we need that position filled. We know, and we love an out release clause. And we know what it would take to get him in. And I honestly think £50 million will end up looking like a bargain for Dean HUIJSEN over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Let's check in on the poll. Oh, it's a close one, by the way. So thank you to everyone that's voting. Please do keep voting. Do you think Quansah is good enough to keep long term? So then I want to ask you a different question. Now, I'm not going to put this one to a poll. I'm just going to ask you with a curiosity. If I offered you selling Konate and Quansah to bring in Hato and HUIJSEN, would you take it? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Thumbs up if you would swap Konate and Quansah for HUIJSEN and Hato. Thumbs down if you wouldn't. Because that would kind of be my dream scenario in this scenario, to be honest with you. Now, I've got to say, I don't want Konate to go. I want Ibu to stay. But there's going to have to be some give and take there. This is a mixed bag. And again, I can see that opinions are split. Some yeses, some no's, some I take it, some thumbs down. Yeah, it's an interesting one though, right? And it's a possible one, which is kind of why I bring it up. I think if we did that situation, right, and it went well, then in 2 years if Virgil hangs up his boots, then you could have a centre-back partnership of Hato and HUIJSEN. Don't know how Nalo's development's going to go. And of course, Joey G is still at the club at the minute. So, what do you think is the most likely outcome in the centre-back situation this summer? What do you think is going to happen? Who goes out? Who stays? How many changes do you think is going to happen? These are the things that genuinely intrigue me. Because, you know, my mind gets carried away in the transfer world. Like, I love transfer stories. I love trying to rebuild the team. And midfield, I think we're good to go. Other than let's see what happens with Harvey Elliott and his future. But apart from that, I wouldn't say no to another shielding midfielder or a deeper line midfielder. But defence seems to be the big buzzword. Defence and attack this summer. Reform said, boy HUIJSEN and Hato, keep Konate, sell Quansah. I think the Konate thing is simply just going to come down to the contract. If they can agree an extension with him, he stays, and I don't think it's an issue, and we're all happy. But if they can't agree a deal with him before, let's say, the summertime, you're really, really running into a risky situation then of, well, do you spend the next season trying to convince him to stay? Or do you run the risk that maybe he'll go? And I don't have the same level of belief that we have a player there that would be as determined to stay at Liverpool. For instance, we all know he's a Paris boy. We all know of his admiration for PSG. So if PSG were looking at Ibu and thinking, well, you run down that contract, fella, and there's a place here for you, I don't have the same level of confidence that I would have had in Virgil and Mo, who definitely wanted to stay. I would be unsure about Konate. Andre said, Van Dijk, Konate, Quansah, HUIJSEN, Hincapie, Schlotterbeck. Some good options in there, my man. Some good options. Darwizzy said, my opinion, we need a midfielder who can rotate with Gravenberch. I agree. I wonder, will that be by Cecic? If it isn't, then I absolutely agree with you, my friend. We do need somebody because we can't have Ryan playing as many games again. He's just asking for an injury. David Cornwell. How are you, David? And Rob, I'm going to get to your super chat, Rob, in 1 second, my friend. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten. I will get to it in 2 seconds. Said... where's David? Craig, do you think we buy Kirkes and HUIJSEN in the first June window? Oh, God. Getting both of them done in a 10-day period would be a lot. but maybe. Look, I think it's absolutely plausible, and I think it would be a great positive start to the transfer window if we were able to bring one in. So, yeah, look, I'm as intrigued as you are to see what happens in that little early 10-day period. But remember, there's only 6 days between the end of that little window and the real window starting. Right, Rob Wilson. Anfield Agenda, the fan channel of Premier League champions. Oh. It's the nearest I'm going to get to lifting a Premier League trophy, isn't it? But thank you, my man. Appreciate that. There are multiple summer transfer windows. So, it's a bit weird this summer reformed, right? I'll try my best to explain it to you, but remember, I'm an idiot, so be kind. The Premier League transfer window can only be a maximum in the summer of 12 weeks, as per the Premier League's own rules. So, with the Club World Cup coming up, FIFA wanted this extra transfer window. So the only way the Premier League could work it and stay below the threshold of making it maximum 12 weeks was to open it from June the 1st until June the 10th. Then they're shutting it for a week, and it opens up again on June the 16th, and it will stay open until the 1st of September. And that means it will just be 12 weeks. If they had have let it go from June 1st right the way through, it would have ended up being a 13-week window and breaking the Premier League's own rules. So yeah, it's a weird one, but it's kind of all to do with the Club World Cup. How's Bajcetic getting on? Also, when's Dijk going to go? So Bajcetic was playing today. They were losing last I'd seen, but he was playing. He started the game for Las Palmas. And where's Dijk going to go? Well, the only really firm interest I've read about at substantial money was Everton. And I'm fine with that, by the way. You know, if Everton want one of our players and Liverpool deem the player sellable and it's a deal that works for everyone, I have no problem with it. Especially when it's somebody like Dijk who's never really been an established player at Liverpool. So it wouldn't feel like it would just feel like he wants to stay in the city and wants to keep playing in his career. Kind of similar to a Connor Cody kind of situation. So I wouldn't have any issues with that one. Luke said HUIJSEN for Konate is fine. If he doesn't desire Madrid and leave in 2-3 years, would rather keep Konate if HUIJSEN is only using us as a stepping stone. Well, I would have similar concerns, Luke, to be honest, over Konate and PSG. Like, it does feel like he has eyes for a potential move to PSG. And look, I can get it. I can understand it. That's his city. You know, and they're in a really good spot as a club. You know, for the first time ever, they look like the real deal. You know, they look like a really good young team with a great manager. So I could see a world where, you know, Konate wants that move. Now, it could be a case of this summer or never for that move, but, you know, we're going to have to wait and see. Craig, you going on holiday? I'm just back from one. I was in Spain last month, and I am not going away again until October when I'm going to Turkey. I always go away in international breaks, so yeah, Turkey in October is my next holiday. What do you think about KDB to replace Trent? No, you know, De Bruyne's best days are far and away behind him. So I think, yeah, it'll be an MLS move for De Bruyne. It would be my guess anyway. Trent to Madrid in the first window. Thoughts? No, I don't think it happens because of the way Trent's contract is. So for me, Trent will join Madrid on the 1st of August. That'll be my guess. Madrid play in the Club World Cup that starts on the 15th of June. But the group stages end at the end of June. And I think Madrid will probably look at it and go, well, we don't need Trent, or at least we can get by without Trent for the group part of the Club World Cup. But if they can bring him over then for the knockout part of it, I think that's far more likely. And they wouldn't have to pay a fee. That's my best guess at it, anyway. AJ said first time in Turkey. No, God no, I was over there last year. I've been this. I think this is my 5th or 6th trip to Turkey. I love Turkey, mate. Absolutely love it. Especially the area we go to. It's just so stunningly beautiful. Right, let's check in on the poll. So we've now had 1,000 votes, and thank you to everyone that voted. We said, do you think Quansah is good enough to keep long term? And 56% of the people that voted said yes, they do think that Jarell Quansah is good enough to keep long term. 44% said no, and thank you so much to everyone that did take the time to have a vote. Jay's Mighty Red Army, thank you, bro, for gifting a membership. Appreciate you. Is the Club World Cup worth much compared to the Champions League? Yes. There's $1 billion of prize money in the Club World Cup. Now, that's not the first place prize, but if you do well in it, there's every chance you can bring up 100 mil, as an example. So, yeah, it's a very lucrative tournament, Tanya. It remains to be seen how it impacts teams at the start of next season who don't really get a chance to give their players a break. So I'll be intrigued to see how Chelsea, Manchester City and that get on next season in the Premier League. AJ said, Craig, are you optimistic now about how the summer transfer window is after extending Mo and Verge? So I'm calmer, but I'm never optimistic when FSG are involved because they're cheap. So I'll be optimistic when I see FSG spending some money and some real money. And I'll be optimistic when I see we start making moves and getting deals done. But what I don't want to see this summer is us in, let's say, August, talking about, well, wait, there's still time left in the window. Give the benefit of the doubt, yada, yada, yada. I want everybody done. I want our transfer business incoming-wise completed before we kick off in the Premier League. And as early as possible. Because the lads are going to be over to Asia for the pre-season tour. So it's going to be a bit of a disjointed summer for the boys. Lots of travelling, lots of warm-up games and that. And I want Arne Slot to have as long as he can to work with the new players. So as early as possible for me with the business would be great. It'll be interesting to see how much of our business is going to be, well, let's wait and see how much we can bring in from sales first. So, as an example, do we have a centre forward lined up that would be moving forward at the start of the window? Or are we going to hear a story of, well, we'll have to wait to sell Darwin? Do we have a left back like Kirkes ready to go? Or are we going to hear a sob story about needing to wait till we move on a left back? If that's the answer, then I'll be concerned because, again, it's going to give other clubs a chance to steal a march on us. Do you see Liverpool allowing Diaz to leave if there's too much work to do in other positions? I wouldn't be in a rush for Diaz, but there seems to be a load of talk about Al Nasser, Saudi Arabia. I've never been able to find out, or at least I don't know what Luis Diaz's thoughts are about moving to Saudi at this point of his career. Haven't got a clue. Barcelona, I think that the chances of a move there from have dried up. And look, if I'm being honest with you, if I had to sell two forwards this summer, it's Jota and Darwin. You know, I'd keep Diaz. I don't see why we should look to weaken a position where we're currently, I think, well stocked. And also, we do have another year to play around with Luis Diaz. He has 2 years to run on his deal. So if you gave him another year and sold him then with 1 year to go, well, he's 29 then, you'll still recoup a semi-decent fee. And it's given us a year again then of more continuity in the team, because I think we're going to make changes through the centre. So I'd sell Diogo Jota, I'd sell Darwin Núñez, I'd keep Diaz, I'd definitely keep Chiesa. And I think I'd bring in somebody like Delap and Ekitike, or Delap and, I don't know, whoever the manager wants to the middle. John and Tom Werner out said Dean HUIJSEN, Milos Kirkes, Angelo Stiller, Franco Mastantuono, River Plate mid-youngster. Eketike and Edwards left winger signing. I've no clue who. Thoughts? Every name you've put on that list is a name that has been realistically linked to the club. So I think, yeah, look, I don't think any name on that list is impossible. So, you know, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know exactly who it's going to be, but it's a fair list you've put together. Luis said Jonathan David and Ekitike. I'd far rather go for Liam Delap over Jonathan David. You've got the homegrown aspect of it first and foremost, and I think Delap has just been underestimated by so many people. I can totally understand the appeal of Jonathan David. He scored goals in his career, no doubt about that. Potentially on a free if Lille can't agree that extension with him. It just wouldn't excite me. You know, it just wouldn't. I think Delap would. I'd prefer to pay the 30 million for Delap. Riyadh said, Craig, opinions on signing Tyler Dilby. Sorry, I'm going to say that again, dude, because apparently I can't read a sentence. Riyadh said, Craig, opinions on signing Tyler Dibling as Salah's long-term replacement. Well, he's going to be available this summer. The price tag was once upon a time 100 million quid. Now apparently it's closer to 60 million quid. That's all I can say, because I have no idea what way we're thinking about Salah's future. I mean, I definitely wouldn't be looking to be replacing Salah or looking for his replacement in this particular window. I want to see how young Rio develops and where the club feel his best position will be. So will it be on that left side of an attack? Will it be the right side of attack? So I'd like to see how he develops for another 6 months or so before we look to the long-term Salah successor. Because I don't think spending 60 million or so to bring in a player now that's going to get very limited minutes would be clever. And you certainly couldn't be bringing him in for 60 million and loaning him back out again. Do you think Eddie Amy would be a possible target? So he's a name, Kibbs, that's been long linked with Liverpool, but I don't think he's kicked on enough. Personally, I just don't. I don't think he's kicked on enough to justify going back in for him. He was close to a move to AC Milan. If my memory's right, I think it was AC Milan in the last window, but never came to fruition and he stayed at Dortmund. So I want to ask you about which group of forwards you guys would like to sell. So bear with me. Okay. Right, so I'm going to give you a combination of different groups of forwards, and I want you guys to let me know which ones you would sell. So let me give you some options. 1 second. And by the way, they're all going to have Darwin in them because Darwin is going to be sold. Right, so I said, which combination should we sell? Darwin and Jota, Darwin and Diaz, Darwin and Chiesa, or just Darwin? So vote away on that one, and I'm very, very interested to see what you guys are thinking on this one, because I know what I'd be doing, but I want to see if you guys think similarly. Jacob, how are you, my man? Hey, Craig, even if it's unrealistic, what do you think about Openda? I think, he's a name, Lewis Openda, that's been linked with it for a while. If I'm not mistaken, I think he scored this weekend in the 3-2 victory for RB Leipzig, and I think Xavi Simon scored a brace in that one as well. Other than that, mate, I don't know. I don't know if he's good enough. I don't know if he's somebody we should be looking at, I'll be honest with you, mate, and say I am bowing down to other people's knowledge on Openda. I don't know enough about him. Corbin said, Craig, do you honestly believe we'll do business needed, or do you think we'll do some and still feel a player or two short? 100% the second one. Look, I'm trying to put on an optimistic face. I'm trying to be non-Mr. Negative because I don't want to bring everybody down. But are you asking me if I think FSG are going to do all the business that we realistically need to get done and not leave us thinking there's still a position or two? Nah, I don't have the faith in these lads. But I'm open to being wrong, and I want to be wrong. And if I am wrong, I'll be on here to say well done to everybody. Craig, can you explain to me what does it mean a Michael Edwards type of signing? Right, so I'll give you my best attempt at it. Somebody who's young, somebody who's below the age of 24, somebody who statistically shows up better than your initial perception of them are. So let's say there's a player out there who's doing really good numbers but isn't a flashy, sexy player that's doing the rounds. Like, let's say a Gittins. He doesn't strike me as an Edwards type signing because too many people know about him. He's mentioned in the media too much. There's too much hype around him that I don't think he'd look at it and think that there's value to be had. So you want a player who's young, who's got a high work rate, who statistically looks very good, who they see value in and can probably bring in for a reasonable wage that, if he proves himself, can be increased as he goes on. That's my best attempt at trying to explain what I think an Edwards type signing is. Data driven is definitely data driven, kind of unheralded diamond. Like Salah is probably a prime example because Julian Brandt was the player on Klopp's lips. Julian Brandt was a player who was highly thought of. And I was watching Mo at the time at Roma. He was setting up a lot for Edin Dzeko. He was doing really well. But I never, ever, ever thought that he would do better than that coming into Liverpool in the Premier League. So I didn't expect it, but Edwards and co had definitely done the groundwork to know, and that's why they pushed so hard. I think it was Barry Hunter, Dave Fallows, maybe Julian Ward, I can't remember if he was involved in it, and Edwards who were pushing to go, this is the guy with Salah, and Klopp relented, and look, the rest, as they say, is history. Right, Kudus, Mbeumo, Bakayoko are my picks as successors. Mbeumo I would take in a heartbeat, Patrick. Bakayoko certainly looks like an up-and-coming talent. And Kudus, I just don't think is worth the 85 million that his release clause is going to make him available for. David Thompson said, is Newcastle's Anthony Gordon not a possible signing anymore? That's one I'm going to say I don't know. Because I'm still seeing him written about. In fact, I read a piece only today about him and Liverpool. But he did sign the new deal at Newcastle. His second half of the season hasn't been one with, because of injuries and his suspension or whatever, that he hasn't really kicked on. So, never say never, but I'm not expecting that to be revisited. But would I take him? I think I would, I think him and Cody Gakpo would be good options, but unsure. Would you buy Isak if it meant Dan's was the only backup? Seems like an impossible signing anyway. Again, it depends who's at the club. So, let's say we sold Darwin and bought Isak, but we kept Chiesa. Then I'll be alright with it. Because I believe in Jayden Danns. I'd be uncertain if he's going to be available enough because of the back injury, so that would be what makes me hesitate a little bit. But ultimately, if you had Chiesa and the manager was going to start utilising them, Diaz stayed at the club, who could also cover as an option in the centre, and Jota was still there, then yeah. So I guess my answer to the question is it depends on how many outgoings there was. David, sorry, did I? Yeah, I did. Sorry, Dave. I am jinxed with you, bro. I'm absolutely jinxed with you. I'm always doing you dirty, David, and I apologise. And I apologise, man, I do. But I'm getting to it now, don't worry. So David said, Delap has done well with a poor Ipswich side. He has. And I'm going to see if I still have this in my notes, David. Bear with me, mate. And again, apologies, mate. You're probably thinking it's intentional at this point, but I'm just an idiot. That's the easiest way to explain it, my friend. Right, bear with me. I'm trying to go back through this because Ben's put up a really good piece around this situation a couple of days ago. So bear with me, dude. Give me 2 seconds. Where is it gone? Come on, Bent, mate. Where's your work? Where is it? Don't seem to have it here. Anyway, the statistic I'm looking for shows that he has more dribbles and more successful dribbles than the likes of a Haaland or some other Premier League strikers. That his chance conversion rate is second only to Isak and Haaland. So he definitely does good numbers, Delap, and is definitely underrated. So I agree. I agree, David. I think he will shine when he moves to a top club. Worried about Delap. Every bad team has the best player. Doesn't mean they're class. But I think with Delap, his pedigree speaks for itself. So apart from the fact that he came through City's academy, he's then gone down through the divisions and worked his way back up, fired Ipswich into the Prem, fired Ipswich to 11 goals in the Prem, and being their only kind of saving grace, if there is any, for their campaign, and has a £30 million relegation clause. He'll be capped by England in the next year, I would imagine. So I think it's an astute signing for somebody personally. If I'm advising him, I'm telling him to stay away from the likes of a Man United or whatever. I don't think he'll be able to win what he wants to win if he went somewhere like United. Right, hang on 1 second. Here's a really interesting stat that just tells you how much Mohamed Salah owns Manchester United. So Duncan Alexander posted to say, including Manchester United players, Mohamed Salah is the 7th highest Premier League goal scorer at Old Trafford in the 2020s. That's nuts. Including United players, Salah is the 7th highest scorer at Old Trafford in the 2020s. That's shocking. Diogo Jota said, nah man, Delap isn't it? I swear if we buy him it's a long day. He's not it as the option. Like, I'm not for 1 second saying to you that we sell Darwin and sign Delap. I'm saying to you I'd feel really confident as him if we sold Jota. So if we sold Jota and Darwin and brought in a number 9 that Arna wants, let's say Hugo Ekitike, and Delap, I think that ends up being good business because it then gives you time to let Delap play in, let's say, some of the early Champions League group stage games or league format games, some of the cup games, start of the season, the League Cup, stuff like that. And then you start to introduce him bit by bit, and I think he works out. So that would be my thinking behind Delap. But if we sold Darwin and bought him, yeah, I'd be panicking. I'm not going to lie, mate. I would. If and when Adidas bring out some retro jerseys, what's everyone going for? Oh, they absolutely are. I think I deleted them off my screen, but is that them? No, I deleted them. We did have some of the retro gear that Adidas were going to be bringing out. And I'll be all over them, mate. Doesn't matter what era they're from. I'm going to be squeezing my chunky ass into lots of them. Wolf Blam Blam said, Craig, I watched the whole Brighton game and João Pedro's the one for us. Well, I can tell you, he is one of the strikers that scored really, really, really highly on Michael Edwards and the data team's search. I may even have info on that here, mate, so please bear with me. We only talked about this actually a day or two ago, so bear with me as I scroll through here. Fermin Lopez is another player that lots of talk has started to grow around as he maybe nears an exit at Barcelona. 1 second. No, it's not that one. No. Okay, yeah, it's this one. So Ben Jacobs wrote this piece a few days ago, kind of in answer to your stuff around João Pedro. Liverpool's data-driven scouting has also seen them take a liking to Brighton star João Pedro and Eintracht Frankfurt star Hugo Ekitike, with both players scoring strongly in their analysis. Both players are being looked at as potential targets. So the issue I would have around the João Pedro signing is the price tag I've seen mentioned, that Brighton would want £100 million. Now, look, I agree with you about João Pedro being a good footballer, but João Pedro is not worth £100 million. So it would have to be a much more realistic fee for me, for Liverpool to look at him. But again, very good player. But £100 million, I don't see it yet, personally, I don't. Louis said João Pedro is worth 100 million. That's a big no. Wolf Blam Blam said, 100 million, probably not. That's the issue, man. Once a player gets to Brighton like that, unless he has a release clause like Maka does, they're getting top dollar. They were even talking about offers over 100 million for Carlos Baleba. Is another player that a lot of clubs have been looking at. So that's the downside of a João Pedro deal. But agree with you, man. He's a very good footballer. What about Cunha? Said Haryan Singh. So Cunha, weirdly, the thing I read most about Cunha is that he wants Liverpool. That Liverpool is his ideal destination. United have looked at him. I'm not really too sure if Arsenal have paid much attention or looked at Matheus Cunha. But we know he has a release clause. We know he's going to move. He's already speaking about that publicly himself. I just couldn't sit here and tell you how serious or how strong our interest is. I really don't know. But look, I'll be honest as well and say João Pedro, Hugo Ekitike, Matheus Cunha, Benjamin Šeško, I'm okay with most of those type of names. They're all names that at least I can understand as a fan why we're being linked with them. Jonathan said, Craig, did you see semi-automated offside already started in the Premier League? Let's hope less corruption now. Yep, I seen it. I was watching the Arsenal game earlier on, and Kieran Tierney scored, and then it was ruled out, but they showed the semi-automated offside, and that's all I've ever wanted. Perfect. Give us more of that. So yes, long may this continue. And it seemed like a far more sped up process as well. So, praise here from Pedro Neto on Mohamed Salah. Mark just sent me on a quote that said, I would say he's one of the best players in Premier League history for the stats that he has, the way he impacts the game, what he's been doing in the Premier League. He's right as well, you know. Mohamed Salah is now going to go down top 5 Premier League players ever, in my opinion, by the time he's done and hangs up his boots. Would you take Hato at left back? No, I wouldn't. Because I don't think he's... I think I look at Kirkes and I see Andy Robertson regen. Andy Robertson 2.0. Hato, I wouldn't say no to because he would be good cover at left back and could, of course, be left centre-back role as well. So there's certainly some sense to Jarell Haddo. But he hasn't got that energy that Kirkes has. And I feel like I want that. If that makes any sense. I want that, and I want Conor Bradley doing it on the other side. Do I support any other football teams, like a second favourite? Barcelona. Yeah, Barcelona would have always been my second team. Barcelona was the first football jersey I ever had, believe it or not. My dad bought it for me when we were on holidays in Mallorca when I was a kid. I grew up watching the likes of, as a goalkeeper myself, Antonio Zubizarreta, Hristo Stoichkov, one of my favourite players of all time as well. Remember being a young lad watching Ronald Koeman score the free kick against United, I think in the Cup Winners' Cup or something. So yeah, Barcelona. But over the last 10 years, I haven't liked the direction that Barcelona have gone as a club. I haven't liked the treatment of some of the players. I haven't liked the way the club has been run financially. And I've kind of lost a lot of interest. So yeah, they were it though. It was only them. Barca. And when I start liking Barca, they hadn't won a Champions League yet. They weren't a club like they are now. They were a good Spanish club, but not the super club that they are now. How's the weekend for you? Good, thank you, Lauren. Yeah, good. My wife's up in Dublin on her way home from a boxing show now. A friend of hers from the gym in Gorey here was fighting and won his fight as well. So congratulations to him on that one. But yeah, she was up there at the boxing. I was supposed to go, but I wanted to stay and work because, well, I want to buy the house, so I need to work. When is Joe Gomez coming back? We need him. I don't think Harrion will see him, mate, before the season's over. Unfortunately, which is really sad because I don't want this to be the end of Joe Gomez's Liverpool career if he moves on. You know, I felt really, really sad and I felt really bad for Joel Matip, the way his Liverpool career came to an end. I mean, it was the right and sensible decision from the club, but Joel's been such a great servant to us that I would have loved him to have been able to get a real proper send-off, and I would wish the same for Joe Gomez as well. Hi Craig, at this point we only need 2 wins, right? No, 3 wins, sir. 3 wins. Sky did say 2 at one point, my friend, but it's 3 wins. So if we win tomorrow, if we win next Sunday against Leicester, then we can win the league title against Spurs. So it's getting close, and it could be a matter of 2 weeks now. But we need to make sure we do our job tomorrow, first and foremost. But yeah, Arsenal drawing today certainly made it a little bit easier for us. MF Gloke said we shouldn't sell Diaz. The whole Diaz situation I've always found really strange because I love him. I think he's a really good player. He's on really realistic wages as well, something about 70 grand a week, something like that. He's got 2 years still to go on his deal. And he's probably one of the few players that I'd be open to Liverpool letting run down his deal, in all honesty. I'd be open to that. Because at that point he'd be 30. He'd have been on a reasonable wage, and I think we'd have gotten the value back for him over the course of his career, for what we paid. But I don't see why you'd want to move him. Now, if he's asking to leave behind the scenes, that's a different conversation, and I don't know if he is or isn't. Right, so we've had 1,000 votes, and I asked, and thank you to everyone that voted, by the way, I asked which combination should we sell, and with 62%, the option that you guys went for was Darwin Núñez and Diogo Jota, and that is exactly the 2 that I would sell as well this summer. So thank you to everyone that voted. Second on the list with 16% was just Darwin. Next was Darwin and Diaz, and Darwin and Chiesa was 8%. So cheers to everyone that voted, and yeah, it looks like we're in sync on this one. Jay Wills, thank you, my friend, for your super chat. Very kind of you. Said, Craig, what do you think about Fermin Lopez? I'm not clued up personally, but his name seems to be getting traction. Hope you're well. Rock the red Adidas. Much love, man. Thank you. So, like yourself, wouldn't have been a player that I would have ever really kept an eye on, but knew about. And then I started watching him really. And today, I was watching his movement in the first bit of that Barca game, and he plays on the shoulder as a midfielder as well, and loves to break the line. He'd been linked to Atletico Madrid, and there's talk of a price of about 42 million. So for me, it would come down to this: if Arne Slot wants to sell Harvey Elliott, then he would be in the mix of players that I think are realistic ones that Liverpool could look at. Now, an interesting one that I'm going to bring up now, coming from Empire of the Cop, they say Liverpool had scouts in attendance at Leipzig's 3-2 victory over Wolfsburg on Friday. Xavi Simons, reportedly one of the players being checked out by the Merseysiders, scored twice in that game, and again TBR Football credited with that one, and posted by Empire of the Cop. I'm unsure of Xavi Simons. Didi Hamann thinks Xavi Simons would be a great fit for Liverpool. The problem that I have is I've read a lot of stuff that said he's not one that's very well liked within the Leipzig squad, that his camp often remove him from events that the club put on and stuff like that, and he's a bit of a big time Charlie. Now again, these are reports. I don't know him, but I've never been convinced. And if you're talking about a 70 million quid price tag, I think there's better options. Thomas said, when City gets relegated, which player will you be in from their team? I love it, mate. I'd love it so much, Thomas. I'd love it so much, mate. Did I mention that I'd love it, Thomas? Because I'd love it. Who would I take from them? There's probably a few. I'd take Marmoush in a heartbeat. I still can't believe we didn't sign Omar Marmoush. So I'd take Marmoush. Who else? Probably it. Do you know what? That's probably it. Doku's not it. Some of the young lads look okay, to be fair. Gvardiol, I mean, I would have taken him at the time when they signed him, but I'm not so sure now. Yeah, probably Marmoush. But again, they do have some good young talent like O'Reilly and that coming through as well. Any updates on the kid from River Plate? Mastinuano, that guy. No, other than a link the other day coming from Argentina, and again, I definitely don't watch River Plate very often, so I have no idea how good he is. Rodri's an interesting one, of course. Do you know what? I'm going to be honest, I forgot Rodri was even there, because we haven't seen him all season since, he's done his ACL. I completely forgot that Rodri existed. I'm going to be very interested to see how he comes back from that ACL. But yeah, Rodri's a beast. Absolute beast. So, do you think Elliott's going to be sold this summer? And if he is going to be sold, what do you think we'll get for him? Now remember, this isn't me saying, lads, we need to sell Harvey Elliott. I love Harvey Elliott. But it seems like credible journalists are saying he's available this summer and that the club will be open to listening to offers. Melissa Reddy, who I think is one of the best journalists currently out there working, mentioned this a while back. And I'd have a real heavy heart if he goes, because I really like Elliott. He feels like he's one of us out there. He loves the club to bits. But it's no good if the manager isn't convinced. Luis said, I'd prefer Cherky over Simons. Certainly be a hell of a lot cheaper, bro. A hell of a lot cheaper. Jason said, totally missed out on Marmoush and Kvaratskhelia. I think PSG had put a lot of groundwork into Kavicha Kvaratskhelia. But you're right, missed out on him definitely. Marmoush is the one though. Regular viewers of the channel will know I was banging that Marmoush drum for a long time. He's one that I'll always feel got away from us. And Van de Ven, he's one I felt got away from us, although his injuries have kind of made me feel a little bit less bitter about that. But Mickey Van de Ven is another one that I could have seen easily at Liverpool. Costello, Tanya said, Cherky as a replacement was linked earlier in the season. Yeah, definitely somebody who's possible. I've had mixed reviews from certain journalists when I've asked about Cherky. Some people think yes, there is a chance of Liverpool. Some people think it's just a smokescreen and Liverpool have no interest. The one he was close to joining was Dortmund, I think, in the last window. I mentioned the other day about John Textor, Leon's owner, kind of having a fallout. There was a bit of a spat on social media over that potential deal. VVD will sign soon, I hope, said Lauren. I think Trent's leaving cost, which is damn shame. I had potential from... Look, Trent going... I just want to know what's happening on that one, you know. I'm getting pissed off, like everybody else, just fed up waiting to see what happens. Patrick, how are you, my friend? Said, I've heard from United fans talking about that they love to have Kelleher just to get rid of Onana. Well... To be fair, Kelleher, in my opinion, will be more than good enough to go to a United, more than good enough to go to a Chelsea. Should be more than good enough to stay and push at Liverpool with Alisson. So, you know, do I see us selling him to United? No, but Chelsea could be a possibility. Don Perignon said, do you think Bradley will be the first team right back next season? Yes, absolutely. It'll just depend on who the other option is. But if Bradley is fit and available, I think Bradley's the starting right back. And I think that's the right decision. I'm really excited to see him tomorrow. Like, I've been excited all week. Because I felt that when he came on the pitch, Mo looked better. And we just looked better as a team. So for me, he should be starting tomorrow. I'm really excited about the possibility of it. Because I'm a big fan of Conor Bradley. Actually, the preview went out earlier on today. I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch it. The preview for the West Ham game went out earlier on. Quickly, I'll run through my team for you that I guessed. And you won't believe what I'm about to say for the centre-forward role, but this was my best guess. So, Alisson's back. He'll be in goal. Bradley at right back. Robbo at left back. Konate and Virgil centre-backs. Midfield, unchanged. Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, McAllister. It's up top, where I'm surprised at myself, because I'd go with Darwin Núñez through the middle, knowing that he won't play Chiesa. Like, if Chiesa was a realistic option, I'd play him. But I'd go Darwin through the middle, Salah on the right, and Diaz again on the left. Cody hasn't looked right since he's come back from his injury, so I don't know if he's still building up fitness. But that'll be it for me. You know, basically it came down to me trying to figure out, would I start Jota, would I start Darwin? And I'd start Darwin over Jota at the minute. I just think he gives at least a focal point to the attack. Surely Chiesa starts. I mean, I've been saying that, Mohamed, for a while, and I want him to. I would start him in a heartbeat, and I'll be very happy if you know, I look at that team sheet tomorrow and go, oh, he's playing Chiesa. I'd be delighted with it. But we've not seen any indication from Arne that he's going to do that, so that's the reason. Like, if you want me to pick the 11 I'd put out on the pitch, I'd put out same defence, same midfield, Salah right, Chiesa centre, Diaz left. That would be the 11 I'd start with if I was picking the team. I think Kelleher will end up at Bournemouth. He won't, because they've agreed to make the signing of Kepa permanent. So he's not going to go to Bournemouth. Kepa is going to be kept there, and they're going to sign him from Chelsea permanently. What about Diaz through the middle like earlier in the season? It's an option, absolutely. But it's an option I didn't really think worked through the middle. Yeah, I just don't think it's an option that works. I think it is an option, but again, it never convinced me in that role. No to Cunha for me due to his dire disciplinary issues, said Phil. Understandable, Phil. You know, he's certainly had some of those this season, mate. Do you think we could get Isak? If Newcastle don't get Champions League football, there's maybe a 10% chance. If they do get Champions League football, I don't see a world where it's an attractive deal financially for anyone. Arsenal won't pay it, Liverpool won't pay it, And I think they're right. Like, if the asking price really is 120 to 150, no, I'd pass. Gary said the team has always looked out of balance with Trent Alexander-Arnold. It looks more balanced with Bradley. I agree. Look, Bradley doesn't have all the attributes that Trent does with regards to a ball striking ability, passing, crossing, but I think he's better defensively. I think he's more aggressive, and I think he's better at driving forward than Trent. Trent's great at playing those lovely deep line balls over the top diagonally, but look at Bradley. Watch back Diaz's goal against Fulham. Watch that back and just watch Conor Bradley, because we're in possession left side of the pitch and Conor Bradley is making the move from the halfway line and pointing into a big circular space, pointing, give me the ball, give me the ball. He gets it, drives forward, slips a lovely little ball inside, and then Diaz with a good finish. That is why I love Conor Bradley, because he knew what he wanted, he seen it open up in front of him, and he made it happen. Do you think Slot tweaks the system with the arrivals of Szoboszlai struggling? I'm probably one of the few people who hasn't been disappointed with Dominik Szoboszlai this season. I really like Dom. I think the balance of our midfield when everyone's fresh is perfect. And I love that we actually have a real option there if Dom isn't playing to put Jones in, because in Arne Slot's system, Jones looks way more comfortable and way more confident. So I'm all good. For me, we need somebody to do the role that I think Elliott could do, but isn't being given a chance to do, which is to drop between the lines, find pockets of space, and speed up play and make things happen. That's why we were talking about a Cherky or a Fermin Lopez or somebody else around that era. But again, I'm at a loss to figure out why Arne Slot isn't giving Harvey Elliott more chances. Daryl said, Champions, Craig, that's it. Over, finito. Agreed, my man. Yeah, it's just a matter of when now and not if. And, it could be as little as 2 weeks from tomorrow. Liverpool Prophet, if you had a chance to look at my email. Yes, I did. Sorry, mate. I did. I just don't know when I'll have the time to jump on a video with you. So if you want to shoot me over a few possible times or dates, then we'll work from there. I can probably do 15-20 minutes at some point if that works for you. I'm always happy to jump on other people's channels, particularly somebody like yourself starting out. It's just a time thing. So if you can shoot me some potential dates that you want, if one of them work or we can make one of them work, no problem, bro. We'll make it happen. Right, where are we next? Sorry, my mouse has gone a bit weird here. I'm going to turn that off and back on. It's kind of going a bit all over the shop. Where are you? There we go. Much better. Sorry, it was like lagging for some reason. Sorry. What have we got? Nadie said Szoboszlai has been poor overall, not good enough. We need players like Kudus and Cherky. I'm going to say to you, Nadie, in my humble opinion, that Dominik Szoboszlai has been a lot better than Mo Kudus this season. A lot better. That's just my opinion. But I think, yes, I understand the end product part, but the effort, the work rate, and the defensive cover he gives us, I think gets overlooked by a lot of people. K-Dub, how are you, my man? Welcome in. Said, do you think we can win the title next weekend? I can't see Arsenal losing to Ipswich. So no, in that regard. I think we win it against Spurs, but I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself here because I want to make sure we get the job done tomorrow against West Ham. But after that, it's fucking exciting, isn't it? Like, it's really exciting how close it's getting now. And Arsenal giving us that guard of honour. Let me paint you a picture. We play Arsenal and somehow they beat us 2-1 or something. and their fans tried to make out like they should be the deserved Premier League champions, then I can see these type of weird scenarios playing out. But God, I want them to have to give us that guard of honour. Do you reckon Sesko would be a good fit? Yes. I think, ironically, he'd fit really well at Arsenal and Liverpool. He's a really, 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 really good player, in my opinion, Šeško. Would he be prolific? No. So for me, if you're looking at a signing of a Cunha or a Šeško, you're looking at a Bobby Firmino. You're looking at somebody who will get into double figures, but probably won't be getting too many 25, 30 goal a seasons in the Prem. That would be my thought process on either of those two. But again, I like Sesko. I always thought he'd end up at Arsenal, if I'm being honest. That would have been my best guess of where he ends up. Lauren said Lee Gunner's the only realistic Arsenal fan. Well, look, I love Lee for many reasons. One, I get on great with him. Two, he's a damn good lad, and he's been a good friend to me. But three, he does something that I don't see many other Arsenal fans doing, which is actually having a standard. You know? Like, Arsenal about to finish second again, and who knows what happens in the Champions League. But if they don't win a trophy this year, that's one trophy in 6 years. So I think Lee Gunner's right to be asking, is Super Mick shit in the bed? Because I look at Mikel Arteta as Gareth Southgate 2.0, whose MO is to go out there and not concede and not lose. So that's why it's just one of the many reasons I get on so well and like Lee Gunner so much is he has standards that he wants to hold his club to, and I agree with him. Because if this was Liverpool and we had a coach that had won FA Cup in 6 years and had spent 100 million on a midfielder and had the talent of the likes of Saka and Miles Lewis-Skelly coming through and have invested in players like Odegaard and spent the money they have, I'd be asking questions. So I think a lot of Arsenal fans can take a leaf out of Lee Gunner's book and show that bit more humility. Yeah, look, love my mate to bits. Spent time with him last month. He came up and visited us when we were in Spain. He stayed with us for a couple of nights. We went to an Elche game. We went out and had a nice meal. Just a top lad. Top lad. And, you know, I think deserves any recognition he gets or any audience that he gets because he's a real one. And I mean that on and off camera. You know, he always looks out for me as a mate. If he sees I'm down, messages me, voice notes me, always looks out for me. He's a real one. And there ain't many of them in this industry. Can I ask how your puppy is doing? He's brilliant. Thanks, Dermot. Can't believe he's turning 2. But yeah, he's brilliant, man. Absolutely loving life. And being loved by all of us. I was only out talking to him in the kitchen before I started the stream. I love him to bits, man. I love him. He's such a furry little legend. Do you see Trent lasting in Madrid considering his poor defensive records? No, I don't. I think the handkerchiefs and the Carvajal singing will be out as soon as he starts making some mistakes. You got a puppy, Craig. What breed is it? He's not a puppy. I got a French bulldog. But he's not a puppy. He's 2 this August. Is it 2 this August? Or is it 3 this August? Maybe he's 3. Fuck, is he 3? Let me check. I'm going to have to go back through my messages because I can't remember. Would you want me to bring him in? Will we say hello to Harvey? Sabrina! Can we say hello to Harvey? I'll bring him in really quickly. When did I get him? $2022. Yeah, he's 3 this year. Where is he? Can you hold him from the camera? Because if I do, it's start eating stuff. Hello, Harvey. There he is. Oh, I'll get him for a minute. Hey, yo, baby.
Oh.
Hey. Yes. You're the best boy. Yes, there's our little puppy Harvey. Thank you. Oh, thank you for my kiss. Sorry for now, you're going to be covered in Harvey hair. Oh, his little foot's caught.
Kick your foot out of the butthole. You stop trying to eat everything. I can't get him past. He's going to knock your...
He's already passed.
His big noggin wasn't past the
He
money.
does have a big noggin. He gets that from me. He's a big Frenchie. He is. He's a unit of a dog, I'm telling you. He's yeah, he's in great nick. I love him.
26 kilos.
Wow, 26 kilos. There you go. 26 kilos.
Or a pound. I can't remember which.
What's that? I know, but what is it?
No.
A bueno one. Cool. Thanks. You put it away somewhere else.
I thought you wanted to tell everybody about it.
No, I'll knock it over. I'm gonna finish up in a minute or two anyway. So yes, that's our doggy Harvey. He's 3 this August, Sabrina, isn't he? Because I have a picture there from 2022, so he must be.
He's 3, yeah.
There you go.
On the 4th of August, he'll be 3.
I have a Frenchy fluffy one. He'll be 2 this year, same colour as mine. Frank is your dog's name. I named mine after Harvey Elliott. Sincerely. Like he was named after Harvey Elliott. He looks like me. He does. He's got my big fat head. And like me, he can't produce more puppies either. Because Sabrina had his balls lopped off. So, yeah. There'd be no future Harveys. Craig, would you pay Konate double his current 70k per week salary? No. Oh, sorry. Double his salary now. Yes, just about. He's on 80k a week. Would I pay him 150? Yeah. But not the 200k that he's asking for. Ryan said, the fact we only need 3 wins, please LFC. I know, mate, it's getting close, isn't it? Just the 3 to go. Arthur Smith said, opinions on loanees, Doak, Dan's, Beck and Bajcetic. So Dan's isn't even going to go to Sunderland. He's going to stay at Liverpool now and finish his rehab there. So don't really know what to make about his situation. Ben Doak, I think, will be sold this summer if the right offer comes in. Beck, haven't followed, so I honestly don't know. And Bajcetic, I hope gets a chance to come in and be the understudy to Ryan Gravenberch, but again, that'll depend on what Arne Slot wants to do. Dave said, looking after my son's Frenchie next week, he's called Tyson. Nice. The worst thing about Frenchies, though, is, my God, that once you give them a hug or a cuddle, you're covered in their hair. They are, yeah, their hair everywhere with them. And we feed them. Do you ever see that butternut box food? It comes like, it comes frozen, and it's like a packet of food. You open it, and it's like potatoes, peas, meat. It's really good. If you are looking for that type of dog food, butternut box is definitely one I'd recommend. Who takes the 5 Champions League places? Do you know what? Up until today, I would have said Forest were nailed on, but Liverpool, Arsenal, obviously. City, Newcastle, Chelsea. For the first time ever, I feel like Forest might drop out at the very end. I really did not see them losing that game to Everton today, and that could cause them real problems. So, without knowing Forest running off the top of my head, I would have concerns if I was a Forest fan, because for the first time they look vulnerable. Craig's house, where the dog's hair sticks to everything but the dog. Oh, Dave, honestly, mate, it's everywhere. Everywhere. I don't have any clothes that don't have Harvey hairs on them, even if they've gone through the wash. Nature Valley Raw, I feed mine. There you go, Carlos. Good man. Yeah, good man. Do you think we should be in the Club World Cup considering the season we had? It's a weird one, the way it went, isn't it? That Chelsea and Man City are in it. I would imagine we'll be in the next one, but how do I want? Do you know, I wouldn't want it. I'm sure the owner would want it for the money, but I wouldn't want to be in it this summer because Like, imagine we won the league and then we're straight into that Club World Cup and that finishes mid-July and then the lads have to have a holiday and then a pre-season. I think it would have a knock-on effect into next season. Forest now hanging in the balance. If they miss out on Champions League spot, let's get Milenkovic, said Jason. They'd have to lower that £80 million asking price, though. Oh, sorry. Am I thinking of the right one there? No, I'm thinking of the other centre-back. Not Milenkovic. The other one. What's his name? What's his name? Murillo. Sorry, I was thinking of Murillo. It's another corruption tournament made by Perez to give a trophy to his players. Well, it's basically FIFA wanting the UEFA money. Because if you think about it, right, FIFA have the World Cup. And that's their only real big FIFA tournament. UEFA have the Champions League, the European Championships, all of the leagues in Europe. They have far more cash flow. They make a lot more money in than FIFA. So this is just FIFA wanting some of that sweet, sweet money. Robert said, Nallo is awful. Have you seen any of the games he's been involved in? I have, and I certainly wouldn't say he's awful. Whether he's of the standard or not long term, mate, I don't know. But I certainly wouldn't be saying he's awful. Do you think Arsenal could get through facing PSG next round? No. PSG are getting through this side of the draw, in my opinion. And I'll be honest, they're the best team we've played this season. And I underestimated them. And I've no doubt Arsenal fans will probably underestimate them as well if they get to play them in the semis. But the fact that the second leg is due back in Paris, I just think PSG are getting through the side of the draw. And in fact, I'd probably say they're favourites to win it. Would you send Neone out on loan next season? I would, yeah. I would, Adam. A good loan, though, to somewhere where he's going to play regularly. I'd more lean towards sending him to Europe than I would sending him to a championship side. But I do think a good loan for Trey Neone, where he plays, would be beneficial because he is legit a really good footballer. But I think he does need to be given that season of getting regular minutes. Remy, how are you, my friend? Craig Latt, have you heard about PSG possibly being disqualified from the Champions League and Liverpool getting back in? No, I can't say, mate. I've seen anything about that one. It'd be a bit late, wouldn't it? Because they've already played Aston Villa. So at this point, I mean, what would happen? Would it remain and Villa got put through? Or I can only imagine the lawsuits and the legal wranglings over it as well, Remy. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen. But I have to say, they were such a good side when we played them. Like, way removed from the PSG of the kind of Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, Galactico type era. They look like a real hungry, good, energetic team under Luis Enrique. Would you rather Jarrell or Joe stay? I'd keep Joe for the experience. I'd keep Joe as well. For me, if Konate goes, that's going to be tough, but I'd sell Jarrell Quansah and buy HUIJSEN with the money. Have you seen the Cunha situation? He's been saying bad things about Wolves on social media. That's my mate Dave that runs that Wolves account. Dave as a party runs the Talking Wolves account. Done some videos with him in the past. And Dave's certainly not a shit stirrer by any stretch of the imagination. And I actually thought Dave was very balanced in what he was saying. And Cunha deleted his original post. So yeah, look, I can understand why Wolves fans would feel a bit frustrated by that. Cunha tried to backtrack, tried to start pinning things on Wolves fans or Dave in this account, and again, I think he was looking for something that wasn't there. So I felt Dave was very balanced in what he said in those posts, and I agree with him. Adam said, alright bro, have you seen Sepp van den Berg's comments today stating his wish to return to Liverpool after 2 more years of development? To be fair, he's always kind of said that. It's not the first time I remember hearing that from Sepp van den Berg. It's always good to hear, you know. It's good to hear that even after being here and it not working out for whatever reason, that, you know, he'd still have a desire or wants to prove himself and come back and play for Liverpool. It's lovely as a fan to hear that about the club. What do you think about KDB to Liverpool for a year? No, he's past it. Like, let's be honest, he is. He's past it. And there's no way we could afford to carry him in our midfield with the amount of work that our midfield gets through. I would have absolutely loved De Bruyne's career to have unfolded at Liverpool, and he is the closest thing to Steven Gerrard I'll ever see on a football pitch, and his career deserves all the recognition it gets. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant player, but not now. You know, between injuries and Father Time catching up with him, I just don't think it's worth it. What do you think about, we've done that one, isn't KDB a Liverpool fan? I think so. There's certainly pictures of him in a Liverpool jersey when he was younger. What else have we got before we finish up? Looks like Luis Enrique has coached all that annoying crap and shithousery out of them. Yeah, they were a good, hard-working, fast, honest, tough team when we played them. I think Inter Miami have the first refusal rights on Kevin De Bruyne for the MLS. Now, Mike kindly explained to me earlier on that means basically that they have first refusal on signing him, and if they don't and another MLS team signs him, they have to pay a fee to Inter Miami. So if he goes MLS, Inter Miami is certainly the first team with the option of signing him. Right, ladies and gents, I'm going to say goodnight to you all. I'm going to go spend some time with the missus who I haven't really seen all day. We will be live tomorrow, 12:45 for the watch along. Don't forget as well, if you want to come and see us in Liverpool, next month we have 2 shows within 3 days of each other. Last day of the season and Wednesday the 28th, we're going to be at the Hot Water Comedy Club for our end of season parties. If you want to come and join us for it, you can get your tickets with the link in the description or by scanning the QR code on the screen. And I will see you guys tomorrow at 12:45, where hopefully the Reds take one step closer to that Premier League title. If we win tomorrow, only 2 more wins will be required. And don't forget, tomorrow the chat will be back on member only for the matchday content. But after that, we'll be back to normal. So tomorrow night, late night agenda stream, it'll be normal. But watch along and match reaction will be member only chat. But other than that, we are back to the chat being normal. Do drop a like for me before you head off if you can. And thank you so much again for another lovely evening.